We know that there are three main causes of fatigue. The first one, and this is in no particular order, the first one would be how much sleep you've had and how long it is since you've slept. The second one would be what time of day it is, and the third is how long you've actually been doing the task that you're currently doing.
81 fatalities so far from January to October in 2006. There's 81 fatalities too many. These are many cases where companies have pressured or clients have pressured drivers to do extraordinary hours.
The New South Wales Road Transport Association believes that by working together, truck owners, drivers and other parties in the transport chain can improve fatigue management and can improve safety on our roads.
On the 1st of March 2006, a new regulation came into effect, which is basically looking at the issue of fatigue in the long-haul trucking industry. And clearly this is a major safety initiative. It actually gives responsibilities for employers, consignors and consignees in relation to the chain of responsibility.
I think the way that this legislation is written, that it takes the responsibility and shares it up the transport chain. Whether you're an owner driver, whether you're a small fleet driver or whether you're a company driver, everyone has a mechanism to say, this is the way I'm going to do the job and I'm going to commit to doing it legally. That means that people who are further up the transport chain have to sign on to your plan, which is a legal plan.
Now under these new regulations, critically important, clients are now also accountable along with transport companies, rather than the driver just being the bunny.
Problems with fatigue in the road transport industry arise because too much pressure is put on truck owners and drivers by their clients. Fortunately, most truck owners don't bow to this pressure.
For the first time in New South Wales, consignors and consignees who employ more than 200 people will have to ensure that drivers contracted to them are covered by fatigue management plans. They've also got to ensure that unrealistic deadlines are not set for those drivers.
And with fatigue, fatigue does kill. And fatigue not only kills but also maims the innocent driver and many innocent people that are out in our roads.
The long distance truck driver fatigue regulation was put in place to reduce the fatigue of drivers of heavy trucks, and it requires employers and head carriers to assess the risk of harm from fatigue to their drivers and to put in place steps to either eliminate that harm or control the risks. A driver fatigue management plan, it's as it sounds, it's a plan on how the company is going to manage the fatigue of drivers carrying freight. One driver fatigue management plan can cover all the drivers for a company, so long as it covers the risks associated with all of those drivers. This process is called risk management. Trip scheduling is an important factor in a DFMP, and it must include all the factors that come into play in meeting a deadline. And that includes the loading and unloading, and basically must include all the work that the driver does. Management practices are also an important part of developing a driver fatigue management plan and must include methods for reporting hazards and incidents and getting feedback from your drivers. A person who is required to prepare a DFMP must take steps to ensure that all records related to that driver fatigue management plan are kept for 5 years.
Every driver understands that fatigue is a balance, and it's a balancing act that you do every day and every night in road transport. Well, I think the fatigue plan is basically designed so that you can document how you're actually going to do the job. If you document it, then it's something that's put on file, and it really is something that can be checked if something goes wrong. If someone gets killed out on the road, I think a work cover inspector will start at the accident site. They'll then go to the transport company, and then if they think there's an issue, they have the power to continue up the chain so that the client, who goes to sleep in their bed every night while the driver's out there trying to get the freight delivered, actually realises they have responsibility for what happens down the chain.
Dad started the trucking industry or trucking business on the 1st of January 1935. In 1952 we started the highway haulage side of the business, which ran Sydney to Brisbane, and those days we were using the old Foden trucks, and they would take 37 hours to go to Brisbane. They just used to pull off the road wherever there was room, or a lot of the drivers had lady friends in towns. They'd stay overnight.
What truck drivers need in the industry is definitely more rest stops, but most critically safe rates of pay. What these safe rates of pay means that companies are legally liable if they have inappropriate practices, which includes inappropriate pay rates. And this is a very important step forward to making clients and companies accountable.
Because the reality of transport is that you're the meat in the sandwich. You're squeezed, and so you don't put it on the logbook when you're loading and unloading. You only record certain parts of the trip, not by choice often. It's just a reality of the job. And over time, that fatigue builds up.
I think the most important thing is to try and encourage drivers to get good rest, and rest that's long enough so that when they start a long trip, they're not tired because of the trip they did yesterday.
To me, managing fatigue is to try and drive the hours that you are normally awake. I find it very difficult to drive from midnight till 4 or 5 in the morning because I'm normally asleep that time. So I don't try and do that. Sometimes I find that I don't want to eat before I leave. I want to eat at 10 o'clock at night because I might need that break at 10 o'clock that night. I just work out my plan for myself.
Rest stops are an important safety initiative. An even more important one is not being pushed to the fact that you can't use a rest stop even when you find one.
What about the accident the other night on the Hume Highway? Did you hear about that one?
It is better to arrive late and to arrive safely than not to arrive at all.
The whole fatigue regulation is designed to make sure that you actually have time to use the other important safety initiatives out there, such as rest stops. But firstly and foremostly, you've got to have the pressure off you that says, yep, when you're tired, you pull up.
Yeah. It's about having your proper breaks. 5 hours, stop, and then have a break. You know, have a proper break. You just don't pull up, have a feed, then go again. You've got to put your head down, have a sleep for a while.
It means that transport clients are going to be held accountable for the roads they employ, whilst the companies that do the right thing in their drivers are able to turn around and properly compete in a good market, in a good economy, and in our road industry.
The main thing is when you're driving down the freeway, you're hoping the bloke coming towards you is not falling asleep or not tired or something like that.
It shouldn't be a one-way street. Everybody in the chain of responsibility, no matter how many times the work's contracted out, should be held accountable for what happens and what their responsibility is in making those arrangements on our roads safe. This is a golden opportunity for companies doing the right thing and drivers. Let's clean up the industry together and make sure that we have a safe and road system out there and a job that we can happily come home to at night without being maimed or injured or seeing one of our friends or mates killed.
I had an easy day today.
Did you?
Yeah, and guess what?
What?
I don't even feel a little bit tired.
Because without us, Australia stops. So we're the one that run the country. So the bottom line is we're the one that move all the freight around.